So my name is Tom Kresh. I'm our Director of Graduate Admissions, and I will be your host tonight. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for the current student panel discussion for our Masters of Science in Speech Language Pathology. There's a lot of other things you could be choosing to do right now, but you're choosing to spend that time with us. So for that, certainly very thankful. I think this would be a good use of your time as well as we're nearing the April 15th deadline for making a student's decision for where you're going to pursue your graduate education. So I think this is a good way for you to learn a lot about our grad program, and you don't have to hear it from myself or from Dr. Scarpino. You're going to hear from current students who can give you a very accurate depiction of what it's like to be a grad student in our SLP program here at CU-Bloomsburg. So thank you, everybody. The event should take probably 30 or 40 minutes. This is being recorded, and the recording will be posted online probably later this week. But before we get started, if our panelists wouldn't mind introducing themselves, and we could start with Emily.
I'm Emily. Obviously, I'm a first-year grad student here. I also went here for undergrad, so.
And Emily, where are you from?
I'm from like Harrisburg area.
Okay.
Mm.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, Emily.
Mhm.
Megan.
I'm Megan. I'm also a first-year grad student. I also went here for my undergrad, and I'm local. I live about 10 minutes away.
And Megan is calling in from Centennial Hall, third floor, I would think.
Yes.
The home of the speech language pathology program.
Yep.
So yeah, Megan's giving you an extremely transparent view of what you may be doing this time next year.
Yes.
And Nicholas.
Yeah, no, my name's Nicholas. I'm originally from New York, Buffalo. I made the transition to Bloomsburg in Pennsylvania. First year here, but yeah, it's going great so far. Very helpful program.
Probably one of the few people who is watching who the weather got probably infinitely better by coming to Bloomsburg from where you're coming.
Oh, for sure. I think the average snow Buffalo inches annually.
Mhm.
And over here it's like 20 inches. So I laugh at everybody at home now.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, yeah, I
great.
know this is nothing for you. I was going to say.
No, not too bad.
Thank you, Nicholas. And Lauren.
Hi, I'm a first-year grad student. Also, I went to Bloom for my undergrad, and I live about 30 minutes from campus, so I commute.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lauren. So we have a number of questions that we have here for the group. And a lot of these are questions that we typically get from prospective students. However, if you have questions for the group, please let us know. And actually, I just forgot, Dr. Scarpino, the program chair. How could I have forgotten? I am so embarrassed. Dr. Scarpino, would you mind introducing yourself here as well? I was thinking you were a student, right?
Oh, sure. You mistake me for a student. Okay. My name's Dr. Shelley Scarpino. I'm the graduate coordinator for the speech path program. I'm also the director of clinical education. I've been at Bloomsburg for almost 10 years. But I was at Bloomsburg previously as a clinical supervisor before going back for my PhD. I also am a graduate of the Bloomsburg MS SLP program, so I know what it's like to be a student here as well. It's a little different from when I came, but not too much. I think we have an excellent reputation. We did when I was a student. I think we still do. So yeah, I can answer your questions, I think, from the perspective of what you'll be doing in clinic and also some of your coursework. Yeah, anything. And I'm actually from the Bloomsburg area. I currently live now towards Allentown, Pennsylvania, but at the time that I attended Bloomsburg, I was a commuter.
Great. Well, thank you. And Dr. Scarpino, you can give us a couple different types of perspective, both as a current student, as a professor, as an administrator. So a lot of different viewpoints there. So sorry, what I was saying earlier is if you have any questions, please feel free to put that into the Q&A or the chat for those of you who are watching live, and I will shortly relay those to our current panelists and Dr. Scarpino. But we will start off with something nice and easy. You chose Bloomsburg. A lot of you could have chose to have gone elsewhere. Why did you pick to come to Bloomsburg over all your other options? And we can start with Emily.
I'm very familiar with it because I did go here for undergrad, but I think probably one of the biggest factors for me was affordability. Like I thought about it a lot, and at the end of these 2 years, you're going to get a degree, and it's the quality of the program is similar to other programs, so why pay that much money? The area is very nice. Like I like the area. I like walking around downtown. I think campus is pretty. So yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was the right fit.
Mhm.
The campus of Bloomsburg, and not I'm sure this is not the most important part of your decision, but it was ranked as the third nicest campus in the state of Pennsylvania. It's a very nice area. I normally tell people it is like a Norman Rockwell painting of a college town. If you don't know who Norman Rockwell is, just Google Norman Rockwell. He's a famous painter. And then Emily also mentioned, the affordability. This is a very
Mhm.
school, right? Graduate school, even with GAs, oftentimes is not free, right? So you're taking on more debt, and the value that you get in your degree here at Bloomsburg is going to be hard to match by any other schools. So that's great. Again, thanks, Emily. And Megan.
I'm also going to kind of piggyback on what Emily said. Cost was definitely a big factor in my book. I'm also really from the area, so I didn't have any plans to move. And I was familiar with the campus, so it was like an easy option for me.
Sure. Convenience.
Yeah.
Nicholas.
Yeah, as like they said, as compared to like where I'm from in New York or like in places in New York City, the cost for grad school was significantly higher than Bloomsburg. And seeing as I could get the same, if not better, education here, it's coming, yeah, to this school and getting the help, especially when I got my tour. Everyone was so friendly. The facilities looked great. The dining hall, all that, the gym. Yeah, no, it was truly it's a great campus. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, this is going to be your home for at least, I would think, at least 1 year, right?
Yeah.
If not a little bit longer than that, right? So you want to make sure you like the area, and you want to make sure you feel comfortable. And for those of you who have not visited campus yet, we'd be more than happy to host people on an official visit. If you wanted to shoot me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat. We're more than happy to host people on campus. If you cannot make it to campus, we do have a virtual tour and a video tour or I should say a virtual tour of campus and a video tour of the SLP facilities. So if you wanted to get a behind the scenes, access type look at what academic facilities we have for our SLP students, that might be a nice, easy, convenient way to be able to learn a little more. Yeah, thank you. And Lauren.
I would say my top factor in choosing Bloomsburg was purely the location because it was within commuting distance. I also like how we have an on-campus clinic, so you get to have firsthand experience. You don't necessarily have to travel off of campus to go do that. I mean, we do go to a school one semester, but it's also nice to have it on campus. Yeah, I would say those were the main reasons. Also, GA positions, having those available. Most other schools I looked at, they didn't really offer them. So that was a nice factor too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So now were all of you undergraduates in CSD, in communication science and disorders? Okay. What were the differences between the undergraduate level courses and the graduate level courses? Like I'm assuming it's more writing, more research, more hands-on projects, probably more applied. Any differences come to mind for you as you were comparing some of the different options? And we can start with Nicholas.
Yeah, definitely way more hands. I would say undergrad's more you're in the books. You might be able to get like an internship in here or there, but yeah, through the grad program, you're every week you are in the field learning and practicing like what you want to do as a speech language pathologist, and I think it's really great.
Yeah.
In regards to coursework, honestly, if it's definitely doable as long as you like schedule and not like procrastinate too much. It's all doable, and the staff here honestly is willing to help around the clock. Any meetings, set up any Zoom meetings, especially Dr. Scarpino. She's always there to help, and she's very insightful with a lot of that stuff. So you're definitely not left stranded over here.
It's a big community, between the SLP program and the audiology program and the IONM program. And then we have all those degrees at the undergrad level. This is a big ecosystem that we have at Bloomsburg here. So yeah, there's never a lack of help or a lack of interest to people who are willing to help for sure. Yes. Thanks, Nicholas. Emily.
I feel like there's definitely a learning curve to manage it, to figuring out how to manage your time and what works for you, managing your clinic and all that planning and all your coursework. You definitely have to figure out what works for you. But both of the supervisors that I've had, like for clinic for both semesters, have been very, very helpful. All of the professors are very, very approachable. Like, as long as you're on top of it and figuring out what you need to do for you, like, it'll be okay. There's a big emphasis on application, so it's less about like memorizing material, and you have to be able to understand it and apply it, because that's what we're here for. But yeah.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, I mean, you're getting prepared to treat patients.
Mhm.
Yep. I mean, when you cross the graduation stage, you know, like you're gonna have patients waiting for you on the other end, right? So you gotta be ready to go. Yep. Megan.
I'm also just going to emphasize the time management. I am like really type A, so I have to have like everything done as soon as possible. And I would definitely recommend scheduling that out. Like Emily said, plan it out, plan what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. But I found that like after the first semester, you kind of get into a groove. Like now my weeks are just like, so I could do it with my eyes closed. I know what I'm doing what day, like studying for what classes, doing like it's you get into a groove and you get it figured out pretty fast. But classes, they're definitely application based, but like Emily said, like all of the professors are really approachable, and supervisors, they have great feedback. You come to them with any questions regarding clinic and they're really good at answering them, and even, you know, giving scenarios or situations that you might use that information in.
Thank you. And Lauren.
I would say the biggest difference for me from undergrad was the length of time that classes are. We have 3-hour classes, but we get breaks, so it is doable. You don't have to sit there for 3 hours straight and, you know, listen to lectures. And most professors try to incorporate hands-on activities, so that's definitely nice. And it's our field, and so we're interested in those topics, so it's very easy to stay engaged in class. So it's an adjustment at first, but you get used to it, definitely.
Yeah, there's no gen eds in grad school. You know, like you're taking the breadth that you would normally get from undergrad degree, where you're going to take English courses and composition courses and you know, all that's gone. It's just the subject matter that you're most interested in that's going to prepare you for your career. Lauren, you brought up a good point too. So you mentioned classes are longer. Obviously, I'm sure they're more fun, right? It's 3 hours of fun. What does like a normal class schedule look like for our panelists here? Like, is it, you know, all your classes are 6 to 9, or are they 5 to 8? Are they an assortment of, you know, classes during the day, classes in the evening? What does a typical class schedule look like? Lauren, would you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on the semester. I know first semester we had Tuesday, Thursdays we had classes, and we had started off with one client that semester, but this semester we have classes every day. Monday, Wednesdays, 8 to 11 a.m. And then Tuesday, Thursday is 5 to 8. So it really just depends. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's very doable, I would say.
Great. Emily.
I was in the schools last semester and this semester, so it's like a little bit different, but essentially the same. Last semester it was Tuesday, Thursday. I think we had an afternoon class and a night class, and we had 2 classes a day. This semester we have 1 class a day. We have Monday, Wednesdays is 8 a.m.s, Tuesday, Thursday is in the evening. And then in the schools, we had Nick and I were partners in this clinic for the schools last semester, and I think we probably had like 6 kids total, but the way it runs is a little bit different than in the clinic. And then this semester, I think I have 10 kids total, but yeah.
Great, thank you. And Megan.
Yeah, so like Lauren said, we did have class just on Tuesday, Thursdays last semester, and most of our clinic days were like first years were Monday and Wednesday, because the second years also had clinic then as well. They're off on externship now, so we have all of the clients in the clinic this semester. So now half the people that are in the clinic this semester have clinic on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the other half have it on Mondays and Wednesdays. So it's split pretty equally. So all of our workload is pretty spread.
And Nicholas.
Yeah, they basically summed it up pretty well. It's just those classes on those days that first semester. And then usually we have, I wouldn't say a Friday off, but there's no class usually on Friday, but you usually spend that day in clinic or doing schoolwork.
You said no class on Fridays. I'm thinking, all right, long weekend.
So far.
And, yeah, no,
we don't have class on Friday.
So I see we're getting some good questions in the Q&A, and I'll get to those in just a moment. everyone has already kind of mentioned, well, first year versus second year. What is the difference between first year and second year? In fact, Dr. Scarpino, did you have something to add? Is there a distinguishable difference between what they might be doing their first year in the program versus the second year in the program?
Well, the second year is, well, let me just say that we are in the process of changing our curriculum. So I just want to be upfront with everybody who's on here. If, you know, you could come in the fall and find that the curriculum has changed a little bit. We are running it through, it's, the request to change the curriculum is going through the university, curriculum committee right now. So, and it looks like it's going to pass. So we currently have 4 semesters of clinic in-house, meaning you would do like fall, spring in the clinic, or maybe in the school, and then you would do the summer, and then also the last fall in one of our, either on our campus clinic or in the school, and then you'd have 1 full semester of externship. So the main difference right now is that the second half of that second semester of the second year, you're out you're not on campus at all, you're out on externship. And I guess that's the big difference between first and second year. But the proposed curriculum change is that you actually would be out on externship fall and spring of your second year. So you'd really only be committed to being on campus fall, spring, and summer. And then you would be able to go wherever you wanted to for your fall and spring semesters. For the extra, you get 2 full semesters of externship. So we're doing that out of necessity to make sure that students get the number of hours that they need and get the experiences they need, because we do offer for students to get their student teaching, 12 weeks of student teaching in. So we offer the Pennsylvania Department of Ed Level 1 teacher certification. So that does require a full 12 weeks of student teaching. So in order to do that full time, and then also do a medical, all of our students are required to do a medical rotation, either in a hospital, long-term care facility, outpatient clinic, but you have to get experience with adults out in, another setting. So in order for students to get, nice rounded number of hours and enough to say that it's been a good experience, we felt the need to really move to the full 2 semester externship, which I think we're about the only program in the state, maybe one of the few in the country, that still only does 1 externship semester. So that was a necessary change. So that's something that's coming. But I think students might actually find that to be beneficial, because a lot of our students move home during that time. So that way they're able to, save, not have to have housing, and live at home and do both their school rotation and their medical rotation in the same town, same city. And oftentimes that's, where their parents live. So you're only committed then to housing for a full year.
Sure. Okay. So we have some great questions here. I just want to get these to the group. So are there winter terms?
Yes. And those are online. So you just have a 1 semester, 3 credit course the first winter, and with the proposed curriculum change, you'll have a 3 credit course over the second winter, online. And
to clarify, we offer both school and medical placements for externships.
Yes.
Okay. Do students have to stay local for their externships?
No.
You answered that. Yeah. No. Yeah. Sorry.
So you can even go out of state. You can go anywhere you want, basically.
So this is more for Dr. Scarpino. When do you know whether or not this change that you referenced to the curriculum is going to go into effect?
Well, we're hoping that, we definitely will know by the end of the semester. I'm hoping that we'll find out that it's been approved. We had it nearly approved. We had to make 1 minor change to some wording of a document. So I would guess that it's going to be sometime in April that we'll know, and then we certainly will post it as soon as the change goes through. We would post the new schedule on the website.
Okay, so fall and spring of the student second year would be spent doing externships. Okay, that is good to know. We have a student here who's from Canada. Welcome. And for the fall and spring externship, is it possible to go back to Toronto to complete it? Sounds like the answer would be yes.
No.
No. Oh,
In
okay.
that case,
Sorry.
that's the only case, no, sorry, unless they have, so here's the thing is, the person that you do your externship with, the supervisor, has to be an ASHA certified speech language pathologist. So if it's someone in Canada who has the American Speech Language Hearing Association certification, that's one step. The other would be whether or not our school would be able to get an affiliation agreement with that
Okay.
place. And so international might be a little more difficult. Sometimes interstate is a little troublesome. I don't know how international would work, but we certainly could try. But the first step would be trying to find someone who is an ASHA certified speech language pathologist. Because not everybody in other countries would be.
Sure. So, Dr. Scarpino, we had a couple more questions about the full second year of externship. Is it possible for, if this does get approved, to let me know, because then I can push out a message to the students in SIDCAS, because
Absolutely.
that's one of the things that they're looking to learn a little more about.
Yep.
And we had a question, will we know by April 15th? It sounds like we might not know by the 15th.
I mean, I wish we would, so we could say for sure. But no, it's not possible. I mean, it is possible that we wouldn't know. And
Okay.
again, that's the actual 2-semester externship is more in keeping with what every other program is doing. I mean, you rarely will find a program that doesn't do at least 2. I mean, some programs don't even have an in-house clinic, and they just send their students out for every clinic.
Right.
We like the idea that our students get a lot of experience in-house first, and then, they're ready to go out. So, yeah, they'll still get 3 full semesters in clinic with us. And one of those rotations will be with this, we have a school site that we contract with that students do 1 rotation in the school here.
Okay. Yeah, so certainly a wealth of curriculum embedded high impact practices. Yeah, that's great. And this is a question more for our students here. Is it possible to maintain a job outside of the program, or do you think that it would be too much? Does anybody want to answer that one?
I work. It's a lot, and you have to prioritize the program over work, but they understand that living is expensive and you have to make money, but you do have to like keep in mind that like classes come first, clinic comes first. Just as long as you're organized and like on top of things, it's manageable, but it can be a lot.
So Emily, are you a GA as well as having a separate job, or is it
Yeah.
the GA the job? Okay, so you have both a GA and you have a separate job. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, Megan, you came off mute. Did you have something to add?
I do. I have a job as well. I work mostly on weekends, but when mornings when we only have class from 5 to 8, I pick up shifts when I can. Kind of based off like what kind of work we have to do like that week. Can I work? Can I not work? But I agree with Emily. It's definitely doable. Like time management is just a really big thing, and as long as you can prioritize school and like clinic over that job, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's short-term inconvenience, long-term gain, right? Like you're getting set, really for most students by the time they finish the master's, they don't need to, like, that's the last time they're going to have to do something like this, right? No more school, obviously, unless you want to do a doctorate degree. Last time you're going to have to, work, multiple jobs. Like this is it. Like you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Nicholas or Lauren, did you have anything to add?
Currently I just do the GA position on top of that, and I'll work every once in a while when I go home for break, but nothing, mostly just the GA work.
Sure. Okay.
Same for me. I just use GA as my work. I work once a month at my summer job that I used to have just to stay in rotation, but yeah, I don't really maintain a regular schedule there.
Sure. So it sounds like it's possible, provided you're organized and dedicated. That's a great question though. Dr. Pino, can you please elaborate on the process for applying for a GA? And if for anyone who hears that term GA, we've talked about that a lot. That is a graduate assistantship for anyone who's wondering. That is a role on campus where you would work part-time. And in return, we would cover some of your coursework in terms of the tuition and fees, and you'd be paid a stipend. They could be a 5-hour GA, a 10-hour GA. Trying to think what you have in.
We only have 5 and 10 hour.
5 and 10-hour GAs. Okay, Dr. Scarp, can you talk a little bit about the process for that?
Yes, so you can you can go on the graduate website, the graduate college, College of Graduate Studies, right? They have the applications there, or you can email me and I'm happy to send you an application if you're interested. We have a limited number of graduate assistantships that we can offer every year. As we said, we do offer 5 or 10-hour positions. The stipend is you get paid $12 an hour for the work that you're doing. And then you, in addition to that, if you have a 5-hour GA position, you get 3 credits waived. If you have a 10-hour position, you get 6 credits waived. So it does help with the costs, obviously, and it gives you an opportunity to work right there on campus. And my GAs, all 4 of these are my GAs, and they know I don't keep them busy enough just because I'm so busy that it takes me time to actually find time to give them work to do. But I told them with applications and admissions coming up, we're going to be busy. But yeah, it's an opportunity though to, do, and they're doing work for like helping, they'll do tours and stuff, for me. But it's an opportunity to not have to leave campus to work, which is kind of nice. And we work around the student schedules. So, anything I give them to do is something they could do in between classes or from home, usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we hire grad assistants in a lot of departments on campus, by the way. So I know in admissions, we hire a couple of GAs every year. Housing hires a number of GAs every year. There are a number of grad assistantships across campus. They could be again, you could be doing different responsibilities, varying tasks, but the same rules would still apply, right? Like it's still here on campus. We would cover part of the cost of your, tuition fees, and then you get a stipend in return. And those GAs are, again, there's a number of them available, all available online to be able to apply for. Do supervisors help students find externships if they want to go out of state?
Yep, that's my job. So I do help you find those. So we do have because we're in the College of Health Professions, we also have some other programs that have externships, like physician's assistant program, and they go all around the country. So what we're starting to do is kind of piggyback on a lot of their affiliation agreements. So if a hospital will sign on, our physician's assistants program, they say, hey, what about speech pathology as well? So we're getting more and more agreements with hospitals outside of Pennsylvania. So if a student's interested in going somewhere, we start that process. Like I'm looking now for next summer or next spring. And upon, arriving in the fall, we would be starting right away to look for the following fall for students. So as soon as students come in, we start looking at, where do you want to go? What are some cities that you're interested in if that's not in Pennsylvania? And we would right away start looking for those. So yes, we do help you find those.
Great. That's helpful. And I see we had a question in here about commuting. We have a student here who lives about 50 minutes away from Bloomsburg. Is it possible to commute from 50 minutes away based on student schedules? That's a great question. Anybody want to answer that one?
I just know a few of our peers are about 45, 50 minutes away, and it's definitely doable. There are a lot of affordable places off campus and some on campus as well. But it does get expensive. So if you're looking to stay at home, it's definitely doable. Yeah.
Nicholas, I'm assuming you're not commuting in from Buffalo.
No, it's about a 4-hour drive. Yeah, can't see me doing that every day, but from my peers, from what I know, it might just involve you to stay on campus a little bit longer, maybe just so you, instead of going back and forth. But other than that, it's definitely doable.
Yeah, it seems like once you're there, you're there for the day.
Yeah.
it's not a lot of like, back and forth, or it's not a lot of like these long breaks in the middle of the day where it's like, what am I going to do for 4 hours? Sounds like there's, you're never lacking in things to do in the life of a grad student in an SLP program. So a question we typically get is, so I'm going to be a grad student, but I'm still going to be living in the area in all likelihood, or I'm going to be involved in the community. What's it like to be a student at Bloomsburg? What's it like to live in Bloomsburg? What's it like, what's the campus like? And if you're an undergrad student from Bloomsburg, you're probably pretty familiar with campus life, right? If you're a student who's a non-native student to Bloomsburg, you're probably wondering what is it like. So can you talk a little bit about your experience in terms of like, what are you doing when you're not in class or you're not studying? Where do you live? What are some of the off-campus or on-campus housing opportunities like? What's the social fabric like of campus? Emily.
Well, the program does take up the majority of your time, but that's going to be the case wherever you go. That's just the nature of SLP grad school. But you all probably know that. I was here for undergrad, but I was an RA, so I lived in the dorms for all 4 years. So living off campus in town is definitely like a different experience. One thing that's really nice is everything's very walkable. So like sometimes I will like take my laptop and I'll walk down to like one of the coffee shops and like sit there just to get like a change of scenery. I feel like honestly I don't really do a whole lot out of like school, but that's also just because I like to spend my free time like at home. Like I like it quiet. But there's things to do. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of food options on campus as well as around campus. I know there's a great taco spot, but if you like physical activity, the recreation center here is really, really great. So if you're ever bored, you go there. They have basketball courts, like little tennis, they have weight room, they have stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely always something you could be doing around here.
Yeah, absolutely. Megan.
Yeah, I agree with everything they say. I'm also going to agree with Emily. I don't do too much outside of school. I work in my free time because that's what I enjoy to do. But there's a lot of stuff to do. And being like a native from here, there are great spots. There's a couple of coffee shops downtown that have great coffee, great hangout spot, great spot to get your work done. But yeah, the nightlife's good. It's got some couple good like West End, Marley's, good spots to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Again, it's a college town, right? So everything is built around the university. Bloomsburg was the first, organization in this area, and everything is built around it. So like all the restaurants, all the housing, everything is built around the university. So it is very nice and convenient in that regard.
Yeah, all the housing is
Yeah.
fairly close to campus within walking distance. I walk almost every day. I have a car, but like it's just sometimes it's easier just to take a walk.
Yeah, and there's a lot of off-campus housing too, where they're apartment complexes, but they're what we would call university affiliated, so they only rent to university students. And those are literally right across the street from campus. Like there's a crosswalk that connects those apartment complexes with where the university is. So again, the convenience is pretty tough to beat. And then you can also live on campus too. We have on-campus apartment complexes too. So if like you wanted to stay connected to the university and like maximum amount of convenience, those are the options too. Lauren.
So I'm a commuter, and going back to that question, I would definitely say the 50 minutes would be doable. I have a pretty straight drive, so it kind of depends on your drive. But it's pretty easy. And you have to get up sometimes earlier than you would like, but I survive and I do it, but it's definitely worth it, I think, to save in the housing cost. But I would say social life, you really spend a lot of time with your cohort. And we all really get to know one another, and I spend most of my time in the clinic workroom, so we're really together a lot. Sometimes we'll grab a bite to eat after, or so you really just grow close to who you're with.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know one of the questions or one of the topics then that Nicholas, we were talking about before the event started was, you were looking at some schools that were in, cities, New York City, Philadelphia, up and down the Eastern Seaboard. One of the things that comes along with that is the cost of living in cities is very different. And as a grad student, oftentimes you're going to, normally the way you're going to cover the cost is through loans, right? Through refund checks. And obviously living in a city is going to cost a lot more money. So the cost of living in Bloomsburg is very, very competitive compared to some of the other options that may be out there. Does that track, Nicholas, with what your experience was looking at some of the other schools and cities?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was like double the price for these places when you could get the same opportunity over here. So it was a no-brainer, honestly, for me.
Yeah, there's some hidden costs with going to grad school in this case, and what you're looking at is tuition and fees, and that's part of it, right? It's just like your undergrad degree, right? Like it's only like going, tuition and fees is half the cost. It's kind of like that at grad school too, right? That's only half the cost. The other cost is room and board. In this case, the room might be off campus, but you have to live somewhere unless you're going to commute. So, that's a good thing to keep in mind. I see we have some questions here in the chat. Coming from a different institution, do the current students know how their peers found roommates of those who did not go to Bloomsburg? That is a really good question. Nicholas, actually, you'd probably be the best person to ask that. How do a lot of students find roommates then if they're coming from a different undergrad program?
Honestly, I live on my own, but there's obviously people. I live off campus, but there's many apartments where you could find different, like you could choose an apartment with multiple people that live within there if you want to find roommates. Like there's always people looking for places here. So I had that opportunity. I chose to live alone, but yeah, the landlord, like people around here help with that a lot.
Yeah.
I just say, and this is just, I'm glad you asked this question because I need to give my GAs this assignment. I always have my GAs start a Facebook page for admitted students, and we invite students to join. And that helps them connect with people before they actually come to campus. They can join the face. It's only for them. I'm not a member of it either, so they can chat with students on there and ask questions, etc. So usually I have one of my GAs or two of the GAs act as the administrators, and they start that. So we'll get that started, GAs. We'll get it started this week so that we can invite students who put their deposit down and know that they want to come. We can get them connected that way. So I don't like to share information, private information to get in contact, but that way if they join the Facebook group, they could always message each other and share contact information that way.
Yeah, and one of the things that I forgot to point out, but I do always like to mention is that the program is 100% completion rate. Right. So that means 100% of the students that start the program finish the program. So, and part of that is a big part of that obviously is the faculty, right? Another part of that is like the cohort approach, right? Where it's like you're all on a team. This isn't a situation where it's a zero-sum game where like you have a whole bunch of people who are like, clamoring to have the #1 spot or be the valedictorian, right? It's like, no, we're all in this together. And part of that too, just the community, it's the ecosystem that we have at Bloomsburg for communication sciences and disorders, which is pretty big and pretty strong in that regard. So, rest assured, the numbers kind of speak for themselves here, where, if you start here, you will finish here and you'll graduate and you'll probably enjoy your experience. So I think those are good things to keep in mind. You don't necessarily have to take our word for it. What is the typical cohort size at Bloomsburg? So typically it's around 25 to 28.
28 is what we aim for.
Okay. And parking on campus, if you were to commute, what is that like?
There's paid parking spots, like metered parking, but there's also, they have a big couple, I think 2 lots where, like fairly big lots where you could park in, and you just have to get a permit for it. They're fairly inexpensive. I think they put it up as like $40, $30, something like that. Yeah. And yeah, basically, yeah, they have a lot of parking here. There's all over campus.
There is like a radius of like whether or not, like, because I also live in town. I know Nick also lives in town, but I'm just on the line, so I am able to buy a parking pass and drive to classes. But where he is, like, he can't get a parking pass, so he has to walk. But in the evenings, because we do have a lot of evening classes, after 5, it's open parking. So if you live super close, but you want to drive to your evening class, you can.
One of the questions we got too is, or someone brought it up then, is like the places to eat. A lot of good places to eat. On campus, we have Chick-fil-A, we have a Qdoba, we have Starbucks, we also have a Dunkin' Donuts, depending on where you fall on the spectrum of your coffee preferences. Let's see, we have a Subway, then we have a number of non-franchise places too that are every bit as good. So a lot of good places to get something to eat. There's a Starbucks very close to Centennial Hall, which is where the department is and where the clinic is. So that's nice and convenient there. Oh, we have a Bento Sushi. A lot of great places to eat on Main Street as well. So you certainly will not go hungry here. So we have some questions in the chat. Can you apply to be a GA for all 5 semesters? That's a good question.
Sure. You can apply for all semesters. It's just contingent upon our funding from the grad office. So, if they give us the positions, we like to give them out. So, yeah. We can't guarantee that you'll get all 5 semesters from the outset. What I can guarantee is if you get one for the fall, then you would, get it fall and at least fall and spring. And then it's contingent on the next year's, funding.
Sure. And how does the weather affect clinics or classes? That is a good question. I think the short answer is it's rare.
Want me to, as the clinic director, I'll say, so if I would say rarely does the campus close because of weather. Correct me if I'm wrong, students, but I don't think it has closed. I don't know. Tom, do you know? I mean, if anything, it'll be like maybe a delayed start. We haven't had like major snowstorms where we've had to, have the campus closed. So if it's a delayed start, certainly, our clinic then doesn't open until later. Oftentimes we might, if it's bad weather, even if it's a delayed start, oftentimes we'll close the clinic. Just because most often, even if the roads clear up, people still are a little hesitant to come in. But I don't know that happens. That didn't happen very much this year with any kind of weather related closings.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nicholas, based on where you're coming from, I would imagine there should be no reason for closing campus based on the amount of snow or the lack thereof that we get compared to Buffalo.
I think we had a week where we got around 7 feet this year in Buffalo.
7 feet of snow.
Yeah.
This is in Buffalo, mind you, not
very
in
mild. Yeah. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like a tropical paradise compared to I used to live in Cleveland, so yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
So for anybody who's thinking about commuting though, I mean, that's something that we would make the call, for the clinic very early. If you're in the schools are notified, the superintendents of schools are notifying their teachers by 6 a.m. So anybody would know well in advance if the weather's going to be bad that, you don't have to come into campus. We would, let you know in plenty of time.
Yeah. Is the town of Bloomsburg safe? Is the question we got in the chat. How comfortable do people feel, walk around at night? Obviously our campus is open, basically from like 7 a.m. until I think the library closes at around like midnight, maybe. I want to say the rec center closes at like 10 or 11. So there's a lot of night activity. It's college campus. How do you all feel pertaining, the safety on campus and within the town community? Emily.
Well, on campus, you'd feel the safest on campus just because of the nature of it being campus. I live off campus. I live alone, which I was initially like very nervous about, but it's been fine. Like I have no problems like walking to places by myself. As with like any place, you should always be like aware of your surroundings. That's true for like any place though, but I don't think I've ever really felt like unsafe. The streets are lit. I wouldn't go down like a dark alley by myself at night, but you probably shouldn't do that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good answer. Megan.
Yeah, I would agree with Emily. I think it's safe. I mean, on campus, obviously, it's pitch black out and I'll be leaving around probably 8:30 tonight, and I'm totally fine walking home. But I wouldn't go down a dark alley, like Emily said, but I wouldn't do that anywhere. But yeah, I would say definitely safer than like a city campus.
Nicholas.
Yeah, no, for sure safe. I haven't had any issues. I've been out at night. Everyone's friendly. I think even around campus they have emergency call boxes every certain amount of feet. Like there's definitely precautions out for anything like that. But yeah, I've had no problems at all with that.
And Lauren.
I would say I definitely feel safe. Like Megan said, we get out of class kind of late at night when it's dark. And I always feel safe walking to my car. I never really have to worry. So that's always a good thing.
Let's see here. Oh, do clinic hours have to be made up or classes moved to Zoom? Yeah, sorry about that. That was one of the follow-up questions pertaining to the weather. So if the clinic gets canceled for the day or for the morning or something, are those hours that then have to be made up at a later date?
Oh, we try to. Yes. So if we have to cancel, I would say the cancellation rate is higher because children get sick. So we've had our share of COVID and neurovirus and all kinds of stuff, that goes around.
Sure.
And so we always, and even, if our clinicians if our grad students get sick, they have to cancel. And so we really like to try to schedule makeups if we can, so that students don't lose those hours. And so we offer maybe to come in on a Friday. That would, that's one of the benefits of usually having an open Friday, is that we can offer people makeups on Friday. Or maybe we can offer them to come, if they usually come once a week, we offer for them to come twice a week, maybe a Tuesday and Thursday, so they can make up those hours.
Mhm.
But we, and the students can talk about this more, but I think we're pretty fair in terms of the scheduling, that we don't just pop something on students and say, hey, so-and-so canceled today, so come tomorrow instead. I mean, we usually give a heads up, so a week in advance, or, if you have to do an eval on a Friday, 2 weeks in advance, I think, so that, if students do have jobs or something, or plans to be at home, it's not like we don't assume that students are available 24/7 and we just, spring things on them.
Yep. So a couple follow-up questions on the GA positions. And when will students find out if they were offered a GA position?
Well, some students know already, as part of the, their admission offer. So, if you're interested in that and you put your deposit in, I certainly are willing to talk to somebody, if you're really interested, and that might be, help to make your decision to come to Bloomsburg. Please send me an email and we can certainly talk about it.
Okay, great. So let's see. When students are applying for the GA, it says they're allowed to apply for the fall and or the spring, assuming students should submit that their interest is for both fall and spring, because typically you're looking to hire a full year GA, right? Or at least full academic year. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. What is the praxis passing rate? Let's see, is it 93%?
I want to say 93. Yes. That's a 3-year average. We generally, so the passing rate is the number of students who pass in that year. And we've had students, for whatever reason, in the past couple of years, taking it late. So by late, I mean they take it after they graduate for some reason. So I'm telling students now, take it before you graduate, please, so it can count as our numbers, because we have to give ASHA our numbers by like July 1st. So if we have students who don't pass and then they take it again and they do pass, but they pass like after January or after July 1st, they don't get counted that year. They don't get counted till the next year. So again, that's just the number of people who have passed. Generally, I would say for the most part, it's like the first go around. I'm going to say most. I don't know of any of our students in the current cohort who took it, the second years, who didn't pass yet this year. So it's pretty high rate. And if they don't pass, they're always telling me, oh my gosh, I missed it by like 2 points, and then they pass the second time. So it's rare that we have somebody not pass after the second time.
Sure. Great follow-up question. What steps do we take to prepare students for the praxis? And is there a praxis preparation course?
We do not make you pay tuition to practice taking a test. So, we just like to think that our coursework prepares you adequately. We have a well-rounded curriculum, I think, that covers all of the, major 9 areas of the ASHA standards. We also have students, saying that they gain a lot of like kind of information when they go out and do their externship. So we usually recommend that students take the praxis around March so that they've had, a couple months maybe in a medical practice where they might, get a little more information in that way. And then students, there are books that you can purchase. So we do have some recommendations for some practice books that actually give you some practice tests as well. And then there's I don't know, maybe students know. Do you know of the app that the second year students were using this year? Or not an app, I think it's a blog or I'd have to what's that?
Is it the Speaking of Semantics? Like, I know that she
Yes.
runs like a prep course.
Yes, so I don't want to, yeah, not to advertise for any particular, but I know students did that and they found that very helpful. And no, I think the ones who used it they seem to think it was good for prepping them, but I don't know. I just think so there are a lot of different ways that you can prepare, and we start telling students probably the fall before graduation that they should start, just looking over some practice tests and back over their notes from classes.
When does scheduling begin for the fall?
The scheduling happens, gosh, I think like not until July. So you don't have to look, and no, you don't have to schedule. Our secretary schedules everybody at once. She puts everybody into the schedule at one time. So our students never schedule on their own. Secretary always does it.
The off-campus housing opportunities, are they still walkable to campus? I would say in nearly all situations, yes. Again, a lot of them, like they're literally directly across the street. But Emily, Megan, Lauren, Nicholas, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I could take a step out of my like complex and look down the street and see like Carver Hall. Like it's all within Main Street. It's within walking distance. Yeah.
If you just like look up Bloomsburg, like student housing or apartments, there's a bunch of websites that come up, and it's like I think it's the same guy that like has all of the websites, but like Nick and I have the same landlord and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, number of opportunities. Do you help students apply for or receive CF positions? I'm not sure I know what CF positions are.
That's the clinical fellowship year.
Okay.
No, we don't. So by that time you're graduated, and that's really looking for your first job. So we do have an alumni group. We have Handshake on campus. So you certainly can, use that to kind of find maybe people who are looking specifically for Bloomsburg graduates. We often have a number of places who actually reach out to us because they want to hire our graduates. And so if anybody sends me an email saying, hey, we're looking or we're hiring, I forward that right to all the students. And I'm still doing that for some of our recent graduates too. So in that way you can. And then there's also, if you're interested in working like in a school, there's the Catch conference that's held through the education department during the spring break. And they oftentimes are looking for SLPs to hire. So I encourage our second year students to go to that, to talk to, that's like kind of an on-campus recruiting event. So there are many, many opportunities. Many of our students are actually hired for their CF from their externship opportunity. So they're there on externship and there might be an opening and they get an offer for a job. So we have some students right now who have already accepted offers where they're doing their externship.
How do you support students who are aiming to go into the medical side of the field? Question.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
How do we support students who are looking to go into the medical side of speech language pathology? Speech language pathology.
Well, we have coursework in adult coursework, certainly. So we have separate courses we have a 3-credit course in aphasia, 3-credit course in dysphagia, swallowing. We have a 4-credit course in voice and resonance disorders that focuses pretty heavily on adults. And we also have the motor speech disorders class that focuses heavily on adults, although there's some childhood apraxia of speech in there. And then we have another separate course, 3 credits on cognitive disorders. So that's where you would get like dementia, traumatic brain injury, right hemisphere disorders. So the coursework, in addition, we do have some adults who come to the clinic. And so you might, get an adult client in our clinic on campus. And then again, we do require that our students do 1 full semester in a medical placement.
Do we assist students with getting a license in another state if there are different requirements?
Again, the licensing, everything is up to the student to do once they graduate. But we do encourage students, you will be able or eligible to get a license in the state of Pennsylvania. And oftentimes what we recommend is you get the license in the state where you went to school, and then that license can be transferred. Usually they have reciprocity with the state, that usually with our neighboring states anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times if you have a license in one state, then it's just a matter of applying for the license and paying the fee, and you can get a license in the other state.
Okay.
But we certainly can look into, if you're interested in just getting licensed in the state where you live, and not in Pennsylvania, then we could just certainly, I'd be willing to look at that with students and see like what are their criteria versus ours. And, again, our guarantee with students who come to Bloomsburg is that you are prepared to get your license in Pennsylvania and your teaching certification in Pennsylvania.
So I see we're coming up on an hour. And while the people who are watching are considering any kind of final questions for the students in the group, you spent a lot of time in school. You're probably ready. I'm sure you're having a great time, make no mistake. I'm sure you're enjoying the subject, right? But you're probably at least looking to life after graduation. What's your dream job? You spent a lot of time, you've worked very hard in school. What does the dream job look like for you, Emily?
Well, I'm really anxious to get into the medical side of things. That being said, I have enjoyed the schools way, way, way more than I thought I was going to. There's one thing that like Dr. Scarpino talked about like probably a couple of weeks ago in class, and it just kind of like stuck with me, is we're not here in this program for like the purpose of learning how to do one thing. And there's a big emphasis on like a well-rounded education, and it's just like important to remember that. But yeah, I'm eager to get into the medical side of things.
I'm not like completely set in stone on what my dream position would be for this, but the fact that this graduate program gives me a bunch of different experiences is nice, and I'm looking forward to that. But if I had to pick, I would want to work in a hospital setting, or even my own private practice sounds pretty cool to me. I think that's a really cool position with the field. Yeah, it's very flexible. A lot of different things you could do.
Megan.
I would like to end up in the hospital setting or just any kind of like nursing facility or rehab center. But again, like Nick said and Emily as well, I like to have the opportunity to go to the schools if I ever do want to. So that level 1 teacher cert is definitely important to me as well.
And Lauren.
I'd definitely like to work with the pediatric population. I'm not sure whether I want that to be medical or school setting. Just with the clients I have right now, the pediatrics I tend to lean more towards. So hopefully something with kids.
Okay. Any final suggestions? Any final recommendations? Everybody here was going through this process not that long ago. Any guidance you could offer any of our prospective students who may be watching live or watching the recording about navigating this process? Emily.
I guess just lean into it. Like it can be stressful, but it's only going to be 2 years. I guess just staying organized and on top of things. I guess this is more about once you're actually in grad school, but it's important to like form those relationships with professors, going to class, making sure you're always at class, stuff like just putting in the work, stuff like that.
Megan.
I would say just don't stress out. Like it's obviously a really stressful time, but like it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get in, you're gonna graduate, you're gonna be an SLP. But yeah, like Emily said, just staying organized, going to class and being a good student.
Hi, Nicholas.
Yeah, basically what they said, really, you just got to take everything step by step in this program. It could seem like a lot, but as long as you plan it out and you're good with your time management, as well as the advisors with the help and getting through things, yeah, it's definitely definitely doable, and you all can do it. Trust me. It's
And Lauren.
Yeah, just try not to stress out too much. It's definitely anxiety provoking at first, but you kind of get into a routine and you're like, oh, I can do this. I'm starting to realize, I'm trying to stay positive. Like, you can do this. You were accepted for a reason. So just remember that.
Dr. Scarpino. Any final parting advice?
Choose Bloomsburg.
Oh, that's great advice. I like, yes, choose Commonwealth Bloom. I like that.
We're waiting for you. So if you have any questions before you make your final decision, please reach out. If we didn't cover it in the session tonight, I'm happy to talk to you about, again, if you have a question about a GA position, reach out, please. Anything that you think of after the session's over, I'm happy to, meet online, even, Zoom call would be fine. But, it's a big decision to make, and, just like the students said, you will get in, you will make the right decision at some point, and you'll be an SLP. It'll be exciting.
It'll be worth it in the end. And again, we are hosting visits, so if any of you have not come to campus but would like to, please, contact myself or Dr. Scarpino. We're happy to help facilitate. We have a lot of tools available online too, that you can use to preview your experience. And lastly, if you have any final questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're happy to help. And Dr. Scarpino and myself, we work for you, right? So we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Yes, I would definitely put both Dr. Scarpino's and my own contact information in the chats. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Whether you watch live or you watch the recording, thank you so much. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions, and we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Have a great night.
Thanks for joining.